So, welcome to Unleash Your Inner Badass episode 2. We got to episode 2. And we're so excited to be here. And we have Carrie with us today. So, we're excited to have Carrie with us today, too. So,
Hello.
Unleash Your Inner Badass this is going to be a weekly series that we're doing where we're talking about mindset hacks, for want of a better word, where we're going to help you get past the crap that you're telling yourself, get past the shit that's keeping you stuck, so that you can actually live the life of your dreams, live a life that you had never even dreamed possible. Okay. And so, if you're joining us, actually, if you don't know who we are, I'm Fran Loebscher.
I'm Brandy Shaver.
I'm Carrie Hyam.
Kat Kristolnikov.
That's Kat Kristolnikov.
Kristolnikov.
And we're Beach Boss Influencers. And we're super excited to be here with you today. I was looking at this plant. Okay, this plant actually lives in my bedroom. It's a peace lily. And if you can see, like there are dead leaves in here. There are yellow bits here. It's not looking as happy maybe as it could be, okay? And it hasn't got any flowers. And so I want to talk about, and if any of you are gardeners, if you know, like with plants, like the first thing that I need to do is actually get rid of the dead. I would need to get rid of the dead leaves. I need to get rid of the dead and need to get rid of these yellow stalks here and these yellow leaves in order for that plant to flourish.
I'm happy.
Yeah. And so exactly. So if you have, if
I
you
don't have plants in my house because they're all dead.
Yeah.
I have fake plants that are very happy. Sorry.
Aw.
I know that.
But if you think about that plant, and if you think about expanding that into life in general, for us to rise up, for you to go to the next level, for that plant to survive, it needs to let go of the stuff that is keeping it, that is killing it. So it needs to let go of the dead leaves, of the yellow leaves, and it needs in order to rise up. And in life, if you want to go to the next level, if you want to, start achieving your dreams, there might be lots of shit in your life that you need to let go. And this could be multiple things. It may be people who are keeping you stuck. It may be people who are around you who are dragging you down, who are not letting you live to your full potential, who are a negative energy in your life and dragging you down and making you feel like shit. Okay. You're gonna get what you you're gonna get what you get from me. Okay.
You got the unfiltered Fran today.
This is the unfiltered Fran. Okay. It may be distractions. I am going to make an admission here. I have an addiction to games on my phone. I literally have an addiction to games, and I had to let go of these games. I had to delete them, and before I deleted them, okay?
I have a confession. I reached level 7,000 something on Candy Crush.
Candy Crush.
And 2 months ago, I said enough is enough. And I deleted the whole app from my phone. And I've never touched it since then. But I'm going to tell you, it took my brain probably 2 weeks to get rid of that loop. Like, oh, I'm bored. I need to go,
Play Candy Crush.
Play Candy Crush, right? And I mean, nothing wrong with playing. It seems like innocent game. But then you find yourself 2, 3, 4 hours later playing the game. It's like, what the heck? It consumes your entire everything, right? And that's what I did. I deleted the app, and I'm like,
Mario all over again.
It's Mario all over again. And I'm like, you know what? It's controlling my life, and I don't like it. I want to control my life. So it had to go. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Like 2 weeks, I caught my brain going into that.
Yeah.
Just like you give up smoking or
so you
anything.
go, like you pick up your phone and the first thing is like, oh, let me go play that game again.
Yeah.
And 2 hours goes by, and so that is the one thing. And let us know in the comments if that is something that you can relate to. What distraction is in your life that is stopping you, call it a weapon of mass distraction, okay? That weapon of mass distraction may be drugs, it may be alcohol, it may be games on your phone, it may be binge watching Netflix. There may be weapons of mass distraction, okay, that are stopping you from doing the things that are going to move your business forward, move you forward, let you live the life of your full potential. Okay. So, and think about, so going back to the people, think about people in your life who are not serving you right now. Okay. And they may be maybe family members. It may be friends. It may be people on Facebook who are a negative influence, a negative energy, and who are dragging you down. Okay. What might you do if those people are dragging you down is, okay, what am I going to do? Right. If it's family members, maybe you need to see them occasionally, but don't spend your time, with them, because if they're dragging you down and filling with negative energy, then it's not serving you.
I always feel like if I have to defend something in front of other people, like defend my business ideas, defend my food choices, defend my travel choices, defend my ways of parenting to anyone, right? Those people have to go.
Yeah. And the other thing,
some of those people you can't necessarily cut out of your life, right?
Yeah.
But you limit your exposure.
You learn how to shield yourself from
right.
And it's often just becoming aware. It's often just that awareness that these people drag me down. Okay, I need to be aware that this is happening, and I'm going to limit my time with them, but also know that when I do spend time with them, that I'm going to need to do something once I have spent time with them to lift myself up again, to bring back that energy, to make myself feel better about myself again. Okay, because maybe, you don't love who you are when you're around them. And maybe they don't. Yep. So
that's another good thing. Do you love yourself when you are around some people or doing something or whatever? That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good nugget. Do you love yourself when you are ...
Yeah. Because the other thing, and this is huge, is letting go of shame, letting go of past shame that is keeping you stuck. I'm going to share something with you. I failed first year university. I was always like top of the class. I always did really well at school. Not in English. Okay, I didn't do well in English. I will admit that. But like math, sciences, I did well. Got into dental school. It was never like I just knew I was going to get into dental school. I wanted to get into dental school. Got into dental school, and I failed first year. And that shame, and as much as my parents didn't want to make me feel shameful about it, and it was like it happened, and that's it. Okay, go and repeat. I had to repeat the entire year. But I can remember my father once saying, "I'm glad your grandfather isn't here to see this." And it took me a long time to realize the shame that I felt, and I idolized my grandfather, absolutely idolized him, and he died in my first year at university. So he died in 1982 while I was at my first year, while I was, yes, it was in 1982. I was in first year university. But I absolutely idolized my grandfather, and feeling that shame that like I was a failure. It took me a long time to get over that. It also, I wasn't a popular kid at school. Like I didn't have a lot of friends. I never had boyfriends. My first boyfriend was when I got to my first year at university. That's my first time I had a boyfriend. Like I didn't have boyfriends at school. I wasn't the popular. I was the nerd.
That's the reason you failed your first year of university. You got a boyfriend.
I know. I had fun.
And all the fun.
I had so much fun. In fact, Wayne said he was a little bit scared of me when he like saw me. He was like, he thought I was the wild child. He thought I was doing drugs. He did, because I was hanging out with the wild kids who were doing drugs. I never did. Like, I have never, ever, ever, I'm so innocent. I've never, ever touched anything, but I had always had this shame.
Yeah, I think shame is something that is definitely, most people in their lives have something, and it's kind of like we try to bury it, right? But it's like that baggage you put that shame in your backpack and then you're packing it around. And I think what Fran's trying to, the point Fran's trying to get at is with the plant and, letting go to level up. And you've
Yeah.
got to let go of the shame. You've got to let go of, you know, people say this all the time. You've got one foot in the past and one foot in the future, and you're peeing on the present. Like, let's focus on where we're at right now and moving forward and dropping all of that. Like, that's in the past. You can't change it.
At the same time of like shame, like guilt. I feel like
Yeah.
shame and sometimes guilt go hand in hand.
Mhm.
Like I let like mom guilt especially, and I don't mean to only focus on moms here for a second, but I'm going to, because a lot of times we put our kids in front of the TV for 20 minutes so that we can get some work done. And then we feel guilty and we don't work our business for the next 3 days because heaven forbid they watch Pinocchio. I have Pinocchio on right now because she's running around crazy and I don't feel guilty about it. But had this been 6 years ago, the guilt would have ate me alive that I put a movie on. Heaven forbid I'm not right there with her 24/7 teaching her things, And there are things in my life that I do feel guilt about. But because of that guilt, I use that guilt as fuel, right? I take back a look at the first couple years of growing my business. I missed out on so much time with my kids. And I kind of go over and above now to like, we're going to Disneyland here in a few weeks. We went to Mexico. Like we're kind of weekend warriors. We're always doing something now. And a lot of that has to do with guilt that I feel because I missed so much of my two little boys growing up for those 2 years. And for the longest time, and Brandy can attest to this, I would say I can't. Like I was just like done. I wasn't going towards my dreams because I allowed the guilt. It was again something I put in my backpack and I
Mhm.
put on me. And it wasn't until I did some work up here and I realized that the guilt that I was feeling was not serving me. And it wasn't serving my kids either. Right? I'm a pretty damn good mom. I mean, I'm taking my kids to Disneyland in a couple weeks. We have annual passes to Disneyland. We live in Utah. How many people have that? Not very many, right? And it's because I let that guilt go. And had I not let that guilt go, I would have never gotten to the point in my life where I would have ever been able to afford annual Disney passes.
So how do people take out the rocks that they've put in their backpack, Fran? What's the skill we need to
I
teach them?
have a good I have a good hack here. I remember my parents, they never had time for us. They worked multiple jobs.
Trying to keep you alive.
I saw them probably, they both would be getting home at 8, 9 p.m., right? And mom would make quick dinner, we'll eat, and we'll go to bed. So we also couldn't afford Disneyland or anything. I was going to grandma's house for summer, and that's because they had to work and they couldn't take care of me when they didn't want to leave me home alone, so they would transport me 2,000 miles away to grandma's house so I wouldn't just be home alone all summer. So they didn't have time, they didn't have money, they did the best they could. But now, 40 years later, what do I think of my parents? The most loving, caring, understanding, and awesomest parents the kid could ever have. Did I have a bunch of toys? No. Did I get a lot of time from them? No. Did I get vacations? No. Did I get clothes? No. But they were the most amazing parents in the whole wide world. Why? It's not what they gave me, it's how they made me feel. So if you don't have money or time to give to your kids, but tell them, right? We can't do it right now, but maybe we can do it later, right? Mom needs to work right now, but later, just give them that attention, look them in the eye, and say what's going on. So that's kind of like my point of view. And I tell my kids all the time. Yesterday, I was going to pick up Rami from work at 9 p.m. I forgot. He calls me at 9:15, Mom, did you forget about me again? I'm like, yes, I did. So am I going to stay now in the dark alone? He's 15, almost 16, okay?
And he's huge.
He's 6 feet tall. I'm like, yes, you are. And I'm like, I could have gotten to mom guilt very easily. And I almost went there and I said, listen, when I was his age, it took me 40 minutes on the bus to get to school. Not school bus, public bus with all other people in it. 40 minutes on the bus, and then you have to wait for it sometimes for a whole hour in the freezing weather, in the rainy weather, in any weather, right? And I didn't die. And I didn't think that my parents were assholes for making me do that, right? So for him standing 5 minutes alone on a well-lit street, it's not, end of the world, right? Like, we make this stuff up for ourselves. Oh my God, I'm a bad mom. I forgot about my kid again. I forgot about my kid again because I was working. And I literally forgot. I lost track of time because I was so into my work. Right? So for all of those who have that mom guilt, it's literally you making this whole thing up. There's no such thing as a bad parent or bad mom if you give your child at least 5 minutes of attention every day. 5 minutes to make them feel like they're seen, they're heard, they're understood, they're loved, they're safe. That's all they need. They want to feel that they're safe and they're heard and understood. And yes, I will forget to pick him up probably again multiple times, but this is
I
life.
laugh. This is my life. Like, I forget. I'm like, oh crap, it's 2:50 and I was supposed to pick up River at 2:40 at school.
I've done it many times. Many times. My kids always were the last ones standing at the, not like the school pickup line. Always the last ones. And he would be like, Mom, could you come like 10 minutes sooner? I was like, if I come 10 minutes sooner, I will be standing in the pickup line for
hours.
now.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
you'll be the last one every time. Sorry, deal with it.
And I want to just add a little thing to what everyone has said is so often when we sit with this guilt, with this shame, with this fear of what happens if somebody finds out. Often it's like this fear of somebody finding out that you think you're a bad parent, you're a badass parent, or you're a badass marketer, you're a badass whatever, but you're sitting with this guilt, this shame, this fear of, it's often imposter syndrome, that fear of somebody finding out that you are a fraud. Get out of it and look down and see, number one, is there any externally verifiable evidence? Like, look for data. Is there any externally verifiable evidence or data that you are a fraud, that you are a failure, that you are whatever the story is that you're telling yourself? Because generally there isn't, and it's shit that you're making up here. And it's a story that you're making up here. And so literally try and step out of your body, take a look and have a look down and see, is this just a story I'm telling myself? And then
it is.
Turn around.
I'm just
give
going to
yourself
tell you
grace.
how it is.
Yeah, give yourself a little grace and start. And this Kat spoke about this earlier, and I mentioned this earlier. Start off by just giving yourself a little love and start loving yourself. Because generally we don't love ourselves. We often hate ourselves, okay? And it starts with ourselves. You've got to start loving yourself, okay? And give yourself a little grace. Nobody is perfect.
I can tell you also a few things about shame and guilt, because those are two very heavy rocks that a lot of us carry around. And the truth is, every single one of us, done something that we're not proud of. There's no even one single person who can say, I'm innocent and I'm perfect, right? We all have done something. So we all have that baggage that we carry around, and the heaviness of that baggage is on you. You're the one who make it heavier, right? But with the shame, it thrives in the dark corners. So if you hide something, if you go above and beyond to make sure nobody finds out, right? Because it's going to make you feel uncomfortable and bring that up that shame. Honestly, that shame lives inside of you all the time. Not only if someone finds out it, but actually when the shame is
Shine a
brought,
light on it.
the shame is brought up to the light, when you actually share those unproud moments with someone else. Just like I said, I've done things friends haven't done, but I don't have shame about it because I've spoke about it and I've realized, well, it's not a big deal, right? We all get crazy when we're young and we do stupid things, but we learn something. And that sometimes it made me who I am now. So I'm actually proud of that experience in some way. So shame thrives in dark corners. So if you let it out, well, I don't mean go and make a post on social media about it or whatever. Find someone you trust just to talk about it. As soon as you let that dark secret out, it loses its power instantly. Like you're not going to feel shame anymore about that experience as soon as you find someone to tell that who will understand and not judge you. So that's shame. Guilt is a little bit different. And guilt requires forgiveness, not of the thing that you did, because it's fact, right? You did something or whatever, and you can't change it. So the fact is the fact. So we don't have to forgive the experience, but we have to forgive how we felt about it. So if you felt bad about yourself not, playing with your kids 24/7, you have to forgive that feeling. That's all it takes. So you don't have to forgive the fact that my kids, I did it to my kids too, had to stay alone and wait for me on the school pickup thing for an hour in some cases, right? Okay, that happened, right? But I forgave how I felt about it. I forgave that shame and guilt and I let it go. So now when he calls me 15 minutes past the pickup time, I don't feel guilty. It's just life, right? It's just life. It will happen again. I know it, I know it will. But I don't feel guilty about it. And when we release that energy of guilt and shame, it's going to give you more space to do other things, more energy to do other things, more ideas. It's going to create different energy where people want to hang out with you, although you did this, and you did this. So this helped me a lot just to understand mechanics of all of these feelings. And we are the ones that make those rocks heavier.
So somebody has a question. It says, is there another word to use besides grace? Another word for me would be patience.
Forgiveness.
I mean,
Patience,
forgiveness,
compassion.
patience, compassion. You think about the pressure that you put on yourself, for all these things that you've done or you feel shame or guilt about. Do you feel that way for other people? Like for Fran, right? That she just admitted she failed her first year of university, right? Do we all judge her and be like, oh my gosh, you're a bad person, Fran? Like, you should never have become a dentist. Failed the first year. Is that really what we're doing? Like, if we're not willing to do that to Fran, what's the reason we're willing to do that to ourselves? Right? I would never say that to Fran, and she knows that, right? Like, I would never judge her for failing first year. I didn't even go to first year, right? Like, for missing first year or failing first year when I didn't even go to university, right? I went to a trade school. That would never be in my being to judge somebody else for their failures or their shame or their guilt, right? Like, so why are we doing it to ourselves?
And I think sometimes it is actually asking forgiveness of a person who you may have hurt. I used to ride horses and I was in an eventing cross-country competition and I had a really bad accident. I ended up in hospital. I smashed all my teeth in. I was in a bad way. And my horse was injured really badly. He was an incredible horse. I'll cry. He was literally the most beautiful horse. I loved him to bits. And he hurt his shoulder so badly. Eventually he had to be put down. He had arthritis, but we brought him home. We had a big garden in South Africa. We brought him home. We had stables there. We brought him home. And my father used to treat him. He got hold of this was treatment like trying to stimulate the muscles to grow again, because the muscles had all withered away. And I never once helped him. Not once. Because I felt so much guilt that I had caused. It was a huge big jump, and it was going from light into dark, and there was a tree behind the jump, and like going from the light into dark, and I literally couldn't see where I was. And I made him, and I pointed him at the tree, and he trusted me so much he jumped into the tree because he trusted me, because he would do whatever I told him to do. And so I had so much guilt that I had caused this accident that eventually he had to be put down, but I never once helped my father treat him. That happened when I was 18. In fact, it happened when I was 17. And I've been carrying this guilt all this time, and I didn't know how to ask my father for forgiveness. I asked him this year. It was this year that I actually said to him, Dad, I am so sorry that I never once helped you, and I've felt guilty all this time for not helping you with Fair Exchange, because I didn't help you because I felt too guilty to even look at him because I had caused this. I didn't. It was an accident. It was an accident, and that's what it was. And Dad said, I never once thought that. He said, I never, ever once thought that you should be here helping me. And so, yes, it makes me sad now, but I asked his forgiveness. But it took me a fucking long time to do that. And I should have done it 50 years ago. No, 40 years ago. I'm not that old.
And I think you probably had the courage to do that because you worked through that pain and through that shame. And if you haven't, you probably still would carry that guilt and shame. But that's why you had the courage to do that, because you let it out.
So
let it go.
Let it go. Let it go. And if there's somebody,
should we sing "Let It Go" altogether?
If there's somebody who's hurt you, forgive them. Okay, forgive yourself. Start loving yourself. Love them. You know what? Ultimately, love wins. Love always wins.
What was the name of your horse, Fran?
He was called Fair Exchange, and we'd actually swapped him. So I had another horse, and I've got a picture. He was just the most beautiful horse ever. And there was another horse. So he was too big for me. He was too strong-willed. And the people who we used to stable with, they said, like, you're another horse. I think you'd like him. And we literally did a swap. And so Mum said, let's call him Fair Exchange. We called him Fair Exchange. He won Horse of the Year. So I was the youngest person to ever win Horse of the Year in 80. Long time ago.
That was the year my parents were married. I wasn't born for 10 more years.
I was 1 year old.
I think maybe 1981. I've got a picture upstairs. Anyway, I'll show you one day. But yeah, he was beautiful. Beautiful.
So,
and I never rode again.
What are you all letting go this time?
Yes.
You can let go of toxic people. You can let go of high expectations. You can let go of guilt and shame. You can let go of anything.
Comparitis.
What else? Addictions.
Anything that's not serving you.
Yep.
Anything. And once you let go of those things that are not serving you, you will have more time and energy.
You know what? Another thing to let go of? Stuff.
Oh, stuff. Yes.
Stuff.
Yeah. Negative people. That's a good one.
Negative people. But you know what? Actually clearing out your closets, clearing out your desk, clearing out of stuff.
Spring cleaning is here for those in the US and UK and Northern Hemisphere. It's
Yeah.
my favorite time of the year. I love throwing stuff away. I love
Yes.
it. Like, that's probably an addiction for me, is throwing stuff away. And I don't even care if I'm going to need it. Get rid of it.
I'm also the thrower, like, get rid of it. But I have people in my house who are not. I have to do it behind their back. And
Yep.
then 5 years later, they're like, oh, remember that thing that I used to have? I'm like, no.
No, I don't remember.
No?
Not a bit.
Best. That's awesome. All right, guys. So we're going to challenge you to let go, to level up, and let us know below what you're going to get rid of. And
Yeah.
we'll see you
We'll
next
see you
week.
next week.
See you next week.
Have a great one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.